finally got a pair of clippers I've always wanted, Wahl 5-star seniors. I'm gonna do a comb over with them, and I'm basically new to Wahl. I'm not the biggest hair cutter with them, so bear with me here. I'm gonna start off using my Wahl detailers, which are probably one of my favorite trimmers, to tell you the truth. They are zero gapped, which means the actual blade is closer together than what it should be because I adjusted it. So I'm gonna go over the area that I just did with my Wahl 5-star shaver. I'm coming down because it'll cut the hair short enough to blend into the trimmers, and then I go against the grain, it'll blend even lower. So now I'm taking my bear clippers, I'm using my half blade, which is the clippers fully opened, okay, that's considered a half blade, and I'm going to come up about 3/4 of an inch, which, you know, is a little less than the Andes because the blade's thinner. So I'm going to continue that all the way to the other side and around the head, because usually, you know, sometimes I work on one half, but if it's guidelines, I'll just go all the way across. Now I got my foreguard and I have it closed. Mind you, the 4, the 3, and the 2 guard, along with that 3/16, I don't open and close. I basically just keep them closed because the blade on this Wahl 5-star senior is like a fade blade, so it's very thin. There's no need to, you know, your wrist is going to do all the work. So now that I use the 4 around the top of the head, I use the number 3 guard, and again, it's closed, it's not open. I just bump right up, actually right into, not up to, but into. I blend into that number 4, you know, once everything looks pretty close and pretty clean. And it's not going to be much of a difference, but, you know, switch to the next guard, number 2, and I'm going to come up close to that line again. So, you know, as I'm doing this, I'm using my comb to make sure everything's nice and clean, and, you know, the hair is going to lay nice and flat. So I use the comb all the time, no matter what. So now I'm working myself around the head, and now I'm getting to where I'm going to use my 3/16. So this white guard here, I'm not used to using because I never really had to use it, but I'm going to approach this with it shut again. A 3/16 is basically 1/16 away from a 1/4 inch, so there's really, you know, to open it up, there's almost no need. So I approach it, I come back into the line, into the number 2, I'm blending into the number 2, and once I see it's good, I'm going to grab my 1 guard, okay? Now this bad boy is where I start using the lever, because the number 1 all the way down to the skin is the most important part of the blend. So I'm starting off with an open 1, or what's considered a 1.5, and I'm blending up into that 3/16. So, you know, once I see it's good, I'm going to close it some, all right? It's not fully closed right now, but a little at a time, enough to see the blend start coming through, and, you know, you adjust accordingly. So, you know, I'm looking at the whole blend as I'm doing it, and I'm closing it a little and a little each time. Now I notice with these clippers I can actually hear the hair that's coming off, which is one of the biggest perks I think is with my masters that I like, is I can hear the hair. So I noticed that I like these a lot better than other Wahl clippers that I've used in the past. So I'm really, you know, loving these clippers so far. Now I took the number 1 off and I'm using the bear clippers. I opened it up fully, but you're actually gonna close it, you know, a little bit slightly. So, you know, close it just a touch, and you start erasing that last little line. All right, you should see it coming out as you're adjusting again, and you're trying to erase that last line you have that you made with your actual trimmers, your Wahl detailers, or at least I made mine, my Wahl detailers. So, you know, you're blending little by little, you know, and again, a lot of it, some of it is by looking at it, some of it is by sound. And once you're done, I pop on my 1/16, which is the blending guard. It's supposed to bring your number 1 into your half blade. It's used for the, you know, basically final touches, or you know, it was actually close to not even really using it. I mean, if I put my number 1 guard back up there, I'm sure I could have made it happen. But, you know, it's all about practice, and some of you guys out there, you know, this is the way to be safe. Use every guard. It's the only way you can have, you know, a decent haircut when you're just starting out, and not, you know, not take any shortcuts. So if you learn the hard way, you learn the better ways on your own. So now I move the camera, and what I'm trying to signal there is that even if you're looking at a blend from one direction, from another direction, it might not look the same. So now from the front, you could spot, you know, a couple more errors that I might have had, which now I'm using the higher guards to really, you know, fine tune it. So I find whatever I need, and you know, here I need a scissor over comb. So you see me combing the hair and taking off whatever little hairs I see. I mention in every haircut, in every haircut video that I have, whenever you have a hard line, whether it be part of the shape up or a hard part right here, once you set it with the trimmers or a blade, whatever you prefer, it's going to expose some of your problem areas that you have. You know, if you miss a spot here or there, and you know, you really should take that time to go over and make it better by blending a little more. So you know, some of you guys don't have the time because you know you got bills to pay. You know, you got to fly through a cut. I don't, so you know, I don't exactly know. I don't exactly know where some of you are coming from, but you know, you do the best you can all the time. So, anyways, I'm on the other side of the head, and I'm basically going through the same motions I just showed you on the opposite side. You're going to use the number 4, come up towards the top of the head, number 3, and if you look good, you'll see this guy has a crazy hair pattern. Instead of going straight down, it comes down and then it dips forward. I'm sure you can see it right there. So as you adjust your clippers accordingly. Now you see me starting to go back a little more. That's just to get all the hairs cut to the proper length. So now I got my 3/16. You're gonna knock it down just a little more, and this is gonna be the same for the back. I did skip the back portion of the haircut because that's just way too much talking for me. I'm not a big talker. So here I got my 1 guard back on there, opened it up, you know, trying to get up to that 3/16, just blending into it. So now I'm down to the half after I'm done closing the 1. You can see, touch up that last little line, and you really see the blend starting to come together. And again, I'm really loving these clippers. They are Wahl 5-star seniors. I've always wanted a pair. Don't ask why, I just like the way they look, you know, and I see my cousin cutting with them, Devin the barber. He's out in Rhode Island killing it right now. I wish I could be him. I'd love to cut hair at a barbershop, but I got another job. So anyways, you know, now you do the shape up. So here I'm just going over the arches real fast, and this is why I need a cameraman, because the comb's in the way and I would have no clue. So I'm just going over the arches real quick. Keep everything nice and low, straight to the point. Try not to cut into the lines too high for them, because when they grow it back, it's gonna look bad. So I'll take the time to go over the 0 real quick, just to keep everything nice and blended together. Now I'm doing the same on the other side. Here, I made sure when I did the first guideline, I kind of kept it low to the head, because I like the way it looks here. When the arches go from bald to having a nice dark line, personally, I think that's like the coolest freaking look. It's not for everybody. Some people like to have the dark line in or fully gone. But now my biggest tip here for doing the shape up is, take just what needs to be taken off. I was gonna say don't take a little, but that makes it seem like if you're gonna back it up some. But yeah, don't back up the hairline, any kind of hairline, in the front, the sides, anything. Just take your time, look at the head straight on in the mirror, make sure everything's nice and straight across, and take off the least amount of hair you can take off. Okay, as you can see, everything's coming together here. Now I got my elegance. Okay, I'm gonna use the razor, and I put the elegance wherever I need. And I have my MD Barber, the Sicilian blade. It's a little more exposed than your average blade on your other razors. So, I'm just basically lightly touching up the areas that need to be, cut down a little shorter. And I tell you what, elegance, this stuff is ridiculous. It's probably the strongest stuff I've ever used. This actual haircut, if you can see his face, the bottom of his chin line, I did with the trimmers. Okay, that was already touched up. That's not on the video, but the rest of the facial hair was only taken off with the elegance. I used just the blade for the whole thing. So be selective with where you're cutting. Make sure you don't you angle the blade right, and you don't cut into the skin. So now that I've finished his haircut, the shape up in the front with the razor, I clean up the neck real quick, and then I dust him off and make sure he's clean. Just so you know, the duster's not legal everywhere you go, so just make sure you're allowed to have one. I use my Eco Styler for gel, which I get from Sally's. It's like $4.50 or something like that. And I tell you what, it was not strong enough for his head. I usually use it for myself and I love it, but he probably needed some that, you know, glued, whatever it's called, that glued stuff. So anyways, this is how his hair came out. Hopefully you guys like it. You know, I am new to Wahl, so if you guys have any tips, let me know. I'll shout you out in the next video or something for helping me out. But hopefully you guys get a chance to comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.